Welcome to Pre-Snap Look. Bruce Badgley here. Joe Santoliquito, my partner. And Joe, why don't you introduce our very special guest that we've got this week?
Yeah, my pleasure to introduce one of the three coaches who's undefeated in PIAA District 1, the coach of the undefeated 10-0 Quakertown Panthers, Coach George Banish. Coach Banish, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Coach, we talked, just a little bit, just a couple seconds ago. And, one of the things that, you've run through the season pretty well unscathed, with a margin of victory that's been, pretty comfortable in each game. I mean, do you foresee that as maybe, a little difficulty going into the postseason? Because eventually you're going to probably run into a close game that maybe your team hasn't really had experience with yet this season.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it and some of our scores were a little bit lopsided, but we've been into, a couple games where, it's come down to the fourth quarter, Solderton being one of them, and Abington came back and made a charge in the third quarter. So we were able to get, some games in there that, we had some adversity. We started off the year, I had some adversity in the first half there. So it's not like that we haven't been tested, but it just seems like the final result has been in our favor.
Bruce, I'm going to run down some of Coach Banish's standouts. They're led by three-year starting quarterback Will. Is it Steach? George, is that the correct pronunciation? Stike. Okay. Will Stike. Will Stike. He's a three-year starting quarterback. They have a three-year starting senior offensive tackle and defensive end, Freddie Redder, senior tailback, Tyler Woodman, and a senior wide receiver, and Zach Fondle. That's the correct pronunciation, Fondle.
Yes, that's correct.
10-0. First time since 1956, right, George? First time since 1956.
A little bit of a delay there on the, I don't know if we lost George or not.
Well,
so they're
yeah, they were. Coach Banish and I spoke a few weeks ago. He was the lead note for my Philly Voice column a few weeks ago, and they have finished 10-0. It's the first time since I believe 1956 since they finished 10-0. It's a team that has a lot of experience. It is a team that, Bruce, I think you got to play who's in front of you. So you got to concern yourself with that. And I don't begrudge Quakertown of everything they've gotten this season. You got to play your conference schedule. You got to go through what's on the slate. You can't go through the would have, could have, and should have if they're not there. So again, I give a lot of credit to Coach Banish, what he's done, what Quakertown's done this season. And it opens up the door to what we will see beginning this weekend in the District 1 playoffs. I believe what we all thought, we all spoke about is Garden Valley being number 1 at 10-0, followed by North Penn at 10-0. Coatesville's at 9-1, followed by Downingtown East at 8-2, and at number 5 is Quakertown. Quakertown is going to be opening up the District 1 playoffs. They'll be hosting a game, and they open up with Solderton. So it was a game that, it's always tough to beat a team twice in the same season. Coach Banish touched on that a little bit. It is a game that what am I saying? Yeah, I was over there last year. I was over there last year when Solderton made its run. They made a historic run last year and won the District 1 championship in the COVID impacted fall season. And then they ran into St. Joe's Prep. And that that was an interesting game because Prep was up by a hell of a lot, and Soderden just kept on playing and made it really interesting there in the end. But that's what we're looking at here. It's right now with Garnet Valley's depth. They're again what you and I have been speaking about, Bruce, and what we've been reiterating, certainly with Matt Smith, the Doka Times last week, in terms of Garnet Valley's depth and talent. I mean, it is a talented team. They're going to be a tough out for anyone, but I think the experience this Quakertown team has and what they've done does mean something. I mean, success. What's the saying? Success breeds success. They've been through a few things. The Saturday game was roughly, I think, a month ago. They beat Saturday. Here you go. I have the score up here. They beat Saturday 36-14. They had a week off a few weeks after that with Horsham and what's happened there. I got to ask if we can get Coach Bannis back on again, what they would do if they have to play Penridge for their annual Thanksgiving Day, the traditional Thanksgiving Day game. And who's to say if that happens?
Well, look, they may play. They may play it the week before, if if it gets to that, because they're in the same bracket. I mean, it would mean obviously, and Penridge would have to upset Garnet Valley, but in theory, that rivalry in the bracket as it is, I mean, could take place November the 19th. So, which boy, that would be some kind of a story. Well, number one, the biggest story would be, Garnet Valley not making it that far. But then B, the fact that, they would play that game, in a state tournament would be pretty incredible. What do you think?
In a district tournament, yeah, that something like that. And who knows? I mean, I think they would turn around and at least think about changing the date, moving it possibly to. Well, here's the deal: the district finals are the day after the annual Thanksgiving Day games.
Yeah,
the district finals are Thanksgiving Day weekend across the board. The district finals are November 26th, Friday night. That Friday night. I'm going up to New York the next night. It's that Saturday, but I have to start. Certainly, with my responsibility to Dave Mike at Eastern PA Football, I've already looked well in advance of the dates and seeing where these things are and what's going to take place here. I have maybe you have some insight on District 12, the District 12 playoff format. What's to happen there?
Yes, we do. We actually do have some information, on that. Just the most interesting thing to me in the District 12 has to do with the 5A bracket, because they actually start this weekend. But then Father Judge they don't play for 2 weeks. They're off for 2 weeks and will not play. They're in the District 12 semifinal on November 19th/20th. And, already. Now, look, would I probably pick them to get there? Well, yeah, considering the performance that they put up against St. Joe Prep last week, I mean, and staying within, like 8 points. And they played, good competition all year. I would have kind of picked that, Imhotep and probably Father Judge were going to go for that 5A title in District 12, but I find it rather odd.
Well, Bruce, Father Judge can play. Well, they'll play in the Philadelphia Catholic League playoffs.
Okay, so that's the reason why they've got the buys there.
Yeah, they'll play in the Philadelphia Catholic League playoffs, and the winner of the Philadelphia Catholic League 6A and whatever the top 5A team is, regardless of whether they win or they lose in the playoffs, the deepest a 5A team goes, they will represent the Catholic League at 5A, and they would play the District 12, which is basically the pub, and what used to be the old Philadelphia City Championship between the Catholic League champion and the Philadelphia Public champion. That is the District 12 championship. So, the two teams, the two leagues will face off against each other for the title. I mean, it's most likely going to come down again, obviously, between St. Joe's Prep and LaSalle and at 6A and 5A. I have to break this down to see what schools are actually 5A schools. Well, Judge, yeah, well, there you go. Judge is a 5A, Wood 6A. So Judge can cause some problems. Judge could certainly cause some problems at 5A if they manage to finish it out. Now, again, that's my understanding of how the Catholic League breaks it down. So even if you lose in the Catholic League playoffs, and there's a likelihood, Judge,
Yeah, that's strictly the District 12 playoff seeding there. I think that that how the Catholic League shakes out is because at least the District 12 tournament standings that I'm looking at on Eastern PA football, on the Catholic League side, LaSalle goes up against Roman Catholic and St. Joe Prep goes up against Wood. And, those winners are going to face off against the public league winner, which is between Northeast, Abraham Lincoln, Only Charter, and Philadelphia Central. So, I mean, so to your point, what they're trying to do is because of Judge being the really the only 5A school there in the Catholic League, they're just not going to have a district opponent anyway until the semifinal. But certainly it all starts anew with the games, winner go home now between LaSalle and Roman Catholic and St. Joe Prep and Archbishop Wood, and then the winners face off. And ultimately, probably the biggest question that we've been talking about for some time, and I'll be honest with you, I had this question asked of me. I can't tell you the number of times that I had this asked of me over the weekend from up here in Berks County is St. Joe Prep coming out of, District 12, District 1? I mean, is that who is going to come out of there? And I said, I don't know. I mean, in the past, we could say unequivocally that was the case. Do you think that that's unequivocally the case this year? That St. Joe Prep?
No, there is, and I've said this before, obviously, with the youth of St. Joe's Prep, and they've been inconsistent, and I think they would admit they've been inconsistent. But it's still a team that has incredible talent. We've seen the growth of sophomore quarterback Samaj Jones as the seasons progressed, and I believe this is going to be a different St. Joe's Prep team. It's not going to be the team that's obviously crushed everybody like they did in the past. And like I said, that Grand Canyon gulf between Prep and everybody else has certainly narrowed, but they're still the standard. And regardless of what happened, and we saw what happened back in October when LaSalle beat Prep, and then LaSalle loses to Roman. So both teams got their proverbial kick in the tails, Prep by LaSalle and LaSalle by Roman. So it's going to come down to those two teams. The experience, again, does go to LaSalle. But I think this is going to be a little bit of a different Prep team than they faced the first time. Prep looked in that game as if they take off with the score. There's some things there that LaSalle threw at Prep, including the Wildcat, which threw Prep a little bit off defensively. And the defensive side of the ball is where Prep is supposed to be solid. They're supposed to be sound. Sam Brown certainly woke up in the second half of that game. I mean, I believe Sam had maybe 11 yards rushing the first half. And then he just broke loose. I think he rushed for close to 135 or 140 yards in that game. Most 80 of it came on a touchdown run down the sideline. So I don't know if the Prep team LaSalle would face, if they do face each other, there's a likelihood they probably will. This is, again, it's going to be a different St. Joe's Prep team. It's going to be a little bit more of a mature St. Joe's Prep team. And And I used the saying after that
You
game.
don't think those extra games benefit LaSalle too, especially a nice win, 20-0 over Wood?
Yeah, but I also say, and I've said it numerous times now in the last few weeks, and we've seen it. Wood's been leaking. Wood's been leaking. It's a team that is again, they're a very good team. They're very well coached, but it's also a team that has a number of players that go both ways, and they've been leaking oil for quite some time. They are again, no knock to the program and what those guys do there. It's a fantastic program. It's a very, very well coached team, but again, they have players that go both ways. And in the end, what's happened is when you're facing the LaSalles of the world, and you're facing the St. Joe's Preps of the world, you start to turn around and taper off. Woods had some problems scoring at times this season. They've made in the games I've covered them. I mean, they opened the season by crushing Chamonix, and I saw them again playing well enough to beat Newman Goretti. They beat Newman Goretti 28-6. That's Newman Goretti's only lost this season, but that's also a game in which Newman Goretti had the ball. I think it was 3 times in the red zone and came away with nothing. So you see two teams going in opposite directions. Newman Goretti has not lost a game since then. And LaSalle's lost 4 times since. I'm sorry, Woods lost 4 times since then. Shut out in back-to-back games against Malvern Prep. I don't know anything about St. John's College down in D.C., but I do know about St. Joe's Prep, and I do know about LaSalle. And I thought Wood can hang with them. I thought Wood should have hung with them. But again, you're seeing a Wood team, and you're seeing a program there. Coach Matt Walp does a great job. But the bottom line, it's a very simple bottom line. They just simply don't have the manpower to hold up to the depth and the overall talent that St. Joe's Prep and LaSalle have.
Yeah, even despite, one of the things going in, with Wood is the fact that, that they were kind of a combination of 2 teams this year. From Bishop McDevitt, who basically was no more, and most of the players, I think all of them actually, went over to Wood there. Look, it is clearly on the 6A side that the 2 teams that are favored to meet, once again will be, Prep and LaSalle. And it is
I'm curious to see, is there a playoff schedule listed?
yeah, I mean up on Eastern PA football is what I was looking at. So the District 12 brackets were on there, and that's what, like I said, for me, why Father Judge basically has 2 weeks off. I guess they don't have a Catholic League opponent in 5A. But
they're in the Catholic League Red Division. They finished, well, technically speaking, they finished 4th.
Right. So they're 6-3 right now. And the District 12 6A brackets have LaSalle against Roman Catholic. That's this weekend, along with St. Joe Prep and Archbishop Wood. And on the pub side, basically, I mean, the way that you described it, that the Catholic League champion's going to play the Public League champion. It's just in the format of the District 12. The way that the District 12 has the tournament is that ultimately you have a Catholic League champion and a Public League champion, and they're going to face off for the District 12 6A championship. So this week is LaSalle and Roman Catholic, and St. Joe Prep plays Archbishop Wood. They don't have the sites there yet, but and then they the semifinal of the district, or the final of the Catholic League, are the winners of those 2 games, similarly of the Public League. So and then the final being, like you said, the November 19th and 20th. So you basically, it's semantics. You call it one thing, and then I'm calling it, the District 12 tournament, and it's by classifications. So I'm not entirely sure, under that, how, the other classifications with Goretti and everybody else is working out. I'm
Well,
just
again, Newman, Goretti, they would all play in the Catholic League playoffs, and the winner
Right.
again of the Catholic League is determined the Catholic League champion, and they would play the winner of the 5A public league champion in the city title game, in the 5A city title game. Last year, for example, the year before, it was 2 years ago when Prep had played Northeast, and Prep had all kinds of trouble against Northeast. That was for the District 12 championship.
Right.
Kyle McCord was in his junior year, and Kyle had gone down with a knee injury, and Kyle was unable to play. But they, it's Prep, and they managed to turn around and do what Prep does and win. But they looked like they were fixed for a little bit in that game. Again, this is a young Prep team, a Prep team that's still growing. It's a Prep team that's still making mistakes, but I don't think it's making as many mistakes. In 5A, I'm sorry, 4A. I keep on saying 5A because Newman Goretti. As a matter of fact, hang on, Newman Goretti's at 3A. Newman Goretti's at 3A. So PIAA classifications for the Catholic League: Wood, LaSalle, Roman, and Prep. They are 6A schools. Father Judge is the lone 5A. Ryan, Bonner, Prendy, and O'Hara are the 4As. Carroll, Lansdale, Catholic, and Newman Goretti. In my opinion, Newman Goretti is a state championship contender. It's a team full of a ton of power. It's a team that has a lot of experience. Again, their one loss came against Wood, and it came early in the season. And it's a team that gradually, through time, obviously has improved. So, but that's how they usually break things down. I'm just like I said, I'm just kind of baffled as to where Father Judge fits in this whole thing. What playoff bracket did they go into? My understanding is, again, they are a Catholic League Red Division team, which they are, and I would assume it would be LaSalle and Judge playing the winner of Prep and Wood.
LaSalle is playing Roman Catholic, and Wood is playing St. Joe Prep, and that's according to the brackets that I see for the District 12 playoffs in Eastern PA football.
And Father Judge is nowhere to be found.
They're in 5A.
Yeah, because there's no other 5A teams. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I mean, that may be worth a phone call to turn around and see if they get an automatic bye. That's an interesting phone call to make, to see if they get an automatic bye. They do have a Thanksgiving Day game. Traditionally, they play Abraham Lincoln. But I got a feeling, I mean, this is a Judge team that is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They are 7 and 4 overall. I'm sorry, 6 and 4 overall. 1 and 3 in the Catholic League. And with the 2 losses coming against St. Joe's Prep and LaSalle.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing. I gotta, I'm used to the old school Catholic League. I mean, the first plays 4, 2 plays 3, and then the winners play each other, to determine a Catholic League champion. And which
in essence, they are. In essence, they're doing that. It's just within the guise of the District 12 tournament by classification. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, that may merit a call to Coach McGardo. I gotta see if they've indeed gotten that. It's kind of, in a way, it's good for them. You get rewarded, but in a way, it's bad for them because you don't want to be handed things. But you got to go. You got to do with what that's out there. You got to, So
it's that way in other sections too. I mean, District 6, District 9, District 10. I mean, they miss weeks. In fact, the entire 6A bracket in District 3 has a bye week once they go into the the PIAA tournament, which is odd. You would think that everybody will take their bye weeks
Yeah.
before they get there, but no. I mean, 6A will actually have a bye week and then play like in a state semifinal. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Chester made some history. Chester made the district playoffs. This will be an interesting game. They open up on this Saturday. They open up again, hosting Kennett as a number 9 seed. Westchester Ruston's going to be tough. That's going to be a tough team to beat. I mean, they've played. They're a smaller school that's played the bigger boys in the Chessmont and have held their own and done very, very well for themselves. It's a team that they handed one of the Downingtown East. Actually, I think, did they beat both Downingtowns this season? I think they did.
I think they did.
So they open up against Interborough and number 16. Their only loss came against Unionville. And right now, I don't know if anybody could stop these guys. I mean, they've played the bigger schools, and they're doing what they're supposed to do. They're not going to be an easy team to beat. I go a little bit of a ways back with Coach Sinclair at Ruston. My cousin happened to go to Ruston. He was a pretty decent little ball player for them for a while, and Mike Sinclair does a very, very good job year after year for them. The other interesting matchups there that I see at 5A, Chester and Kennett. You and I have been on we could say the Chester bandwagon for some time. They are a sleeper team. They're going to be a team.
Even though they go into the playoffs losing 3 in a row, they're a sleeper team now.
Yeah, I still see that because there's some talent there. It depends on how Coach Bell's young men respond to adversity. We both know what kind of a leader Chester's senior quarterback Isaiah Freeman is. I mean, that kid he's going to give you everything. I mean, he's hook, line, sinker. You know, he's going to throw, if he has to throw body parts out there to win games, he's going to do that. So they're a tough out for that sake. They have some ability. They were breaking down in the end, kind of limping towards the finish line because they were suffering injuries and they're becoming thinner and thinner. So if they get a little bit healthier, they could be a factor. And if they get completely healthy, they could be a real serious factor. The other team that is going to be an interesting team is Strathaven. They're the number 2. But I think as I look over 5A, I don't really see anyone getting by. I don't see anybody getting by Ruston.
So that's what I was going to ask here. So Ruston would be your pick in 5A in District 1.
Ruston would be my pick in 5A. We can move up here for a second, and with Garnet Valley and Haverford. Let's go down here. We have Garnet Valley at one end of the spectrum. They are the number 1 seed. North Penn is the number 2 seed. And here's an interesting thing. If it holds the chalk here, Ridley beats Conestoga, and Ridley was going to close the season against Conestoga. Let me check here. Indeed, if that game is scheduled to be played on Friday. Then it got pushed back because of the weather. So they were supposed to play each other over this past weekend, and they did. And where Ridley comes out a 29-28 winner by a point. Stoke's a pretty good team, but my point of reference is the Ridley team that gave Garnet Valley all kinds of hell again back in early October. Ridley's a team that has speed. They have a very, very good coach and former Widener coach Dave Wood. So there's ability there. Either Conestoga or Ridley, whoever comes out of that, is got to be problems for North Penn. I like North Penn. I think they have a very, very good talent. They're very explosive. But right now, I have not seen North Penn at its most complete. I've seen what I have seen of them. You see portions of brilliance, and then suddenly things just disappear. Again, my point of reference goes back to the game that I covered personally for Eastern PA football when I saw North Penn earlier this season against TB West. It was a game that I thought North Penn was going to turn around and run away with. They were up 21 or 14 nothing, 21 nothing at the half. They looked so dominant, and then they wind up tuckering out. They wind up slowing down in the end. They wind up getting tired in the end. They have almost the same kind of situation a little bit as Archbishop Wood. Wood may be a little bit thinner than North Penn, but
Well, I like
that's going to be whoever North Penn gets, whether it be Ridley or Conestoga. That's going to be a problem. Don't be surprised if whoever comes out of Ridley and Conestoga. Don't be surprised if they pull off the upset.
I like Coatesville coming out of the bottom bracket. I think that they will play. I think that they will play Garnet Valley for the championship with Garnet Valley winning. But I like Coatesville.
My issue with Coatesville, again, my point of reference was the game that I covered. Matt Smith and I covered that Coatesville Chester game, and again, Chester gave them all types of trouble. As a matter of fact, Chester should have won that game. Chester had 2 failed red zone situations. Coatesville won by hook or by crook. They won in an an ugly manner, but they still won. They still won. But here's the deal again, from my point of reference, the Coatesville team that I saw that showed up against Chester 2 weeks ago, that eked out that 34-28 victory at Chester. That Coatesville team's not going to have. They're not going to have that kind of. They're going to have a lot of problems with Garnet Valley if that version of the coach.
Well, and I'm not picking them over Garnet Valley. I'm just saying that Coatesville is in the bottom bracket of 6A, and I would expect I would expect that they'll probably meet North Penn in the quarterfinal and play Garnet Valley. I think that Garnet Valley would be a prohibitive favorite, not only to win their bracket but to win it all. I think I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think we both agree that Garnet Valley is probably the favorite in 6A, right?
Yeah, they are. But Bruce, the problem Coatesville is going to have, and possibly a big problem, Perk Valley's pretty good.
Sure.
Perk Valley's pretty good.
All these teams are good.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Now Coatesville beat them earlier in the season. They beat them by touchdown. They beat them 35-20. Well, touchdown to 2-point conversion. They beat them by 8 earlier this season. But we've seen 2 teams go in different directions. I've seen Perk Valley only get stronger as the season's going on.
Well, they just won their
Pac-10.
conference tournament too. Conference championship. So they've got a lot. I'm not arguing the fact that they've got momentum. All these teams have momentum. I mean, Coatesville lost. Their last loss was like week 3 or week 4. So
they lost to William Penn
5-6 game win streak.
But again, I can't help but think my point of reference with Coatesville was that ugly game they got by Chester. And again, if that version of Coatesville shows up against Perkiomen Valley has Perkiomen Valley could beat. And so there are 2 struggles here as I look at the bracket here. North Penn facing either Ridley or Conestoga. There's an upset alert that could be put on that. And Coatesville coming out and facing, if things hold up to chalk, Perkiomen Valley, there's an upset alert there. Because Perkiomen Valley is very, very capable of beating those guys. Now I see Quakertown here had some tough times, as Coach Bannis was telling us briefly earlier, but they came out in the end there. But again, I don't care whether it's high school, college, Pee Wee, whatever. When you face the team twice in a season, that always makes you squint. It always makes you turn around, just because there's a great familiarity there, and there's no intimidation, and it's a matter of execution when you deal with 2 teams again that have faced each other. I would have liked to have asked Coach Bannis, and if I turn around, maybe get a hold of him either later on the night or sometime tomorrow. The last time Quakertown's gone 11-0. Again, I know the last time they went 10-0 was way back in 1956, but they don't have it so easy either, because obviously they get through. Well, I'll tell you what, they get by Quakertown gets by Souderton, I don't think they would have a problem until, like you and I were talking about, until maybe they would meet a Garnet Valley in the district semifinals.
I agree. I like Quakertown to play Garnet Valley. Unfortunately, I like Garnet Valley as I think we both do
Yeah.
to win it all. But ultimately, I think there's so quite honestly, you talked about how you have one team and then you have everybody else. I think
Mhm.
Garnet Valley is that team in 6A in District 1 that they're a prohibitive favorite. And then
Yeah.
there's 4 or 5 other teams that really could like you talked about, like Downingtown East, Quakertown, Coatesville, Perkiomen Valley, North Penn, that are all very close.
Out of that grouping, North Penn's probably the closest. They do have the talent and the speed that could give Garnet Valley some trouble. Those other teams, again, knowing what I know, seeing what I see, Garnet Valley would have, again, they have the talent and the depth to beat those other teams.
Mhm.
The team that they would have the most problems with, again, from seeing everybody, seeing most of these teams, is likely North Penn.
Mhm.
And where, again, Garnet Valley wins is attrition. They will pound and pound and pound and pound and pound. But that's just to say, if really doesn't beat Stoga and then really turns around and knocks off North Penn, which again could happen. Again, points of reference. The really that I saw the night that I saw them play Garnet Valley, that's a really team that's capable of beating anybody in the state that night. They just weren't able to beat Garnet Valley. And here's the twist too: if Garnet Valley, if Garnet Valley comes out of District 1, they would then have the chance to possibly face coming back, possibly face St. Joe's Prep or whoever comes out of District 12. They would have a chance to face them in the PIAA state championship. Because what's been happening here is the District 12 champion, which obviously the last couple of years, last 3 years have been St. Joe's Prep. They go out west. They go
Well,
out west
the
for the
the
state
state
semis.
the state semifinal this year in 5A and 6A will play the WPIAL champ.
Yeah, yeah,
So
and then they come back, and well, if they obviously they lose, they're done. But then they'll, that's what Prep's been doing. That's why Wood faced Cheltenham a couple years back, Archbishop Wood, and I think those two schools are maybe about 10 or 12 miles away from each other. And I'll never forget that too, because that was a hell of a football game. Cheltenham gave them all kinds of trouble, and Wood hung on to win when Wood was still a 5A, which
yeah,
I think when you look at the whole picture, Wood, well, now with this success equation thrown into it, as well as school population, that's kind of messed Wood up a little bit here, because I think Wood still should be, in my opinion, they should still be a 5A. Because again, we're seeing what's happened here in the end with them in terms of manpower.
yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it's clear the same thing happened to Cathedral Prep last year playing for a 5A title.
Yeah.
They had against Pine Richland. I mean, they just were undermanned.
Yeah.
And I think that's the element of, when you have these success formulas taking these teams classification up, it takes, it's very difficult. It's very difficult that first go round. Absolutely. I totally agree there. So, we've got some we actually have our first week of, playoff action coming up. I think that we'll know a lot more. I think there's a lot of conjecture going on right now. I think that obviously we're going to know a lot more after this week.
Yeah, 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 we should. I'm not so certain, because there's so little differentiating a lot of these teams, and even in the past, Garnet Valley at its best against, for example, it's St. Joe's Prep at its best. And again, no disrespect meant to Coach Ricky and what he does year after year with that program. But in the past, I would say Garnet Valley is a plus 20, 21, 25, 28 in the past. Now, again, like I said, that huge gate between where Prep was and where Prep is now and where everybody else is. I'm not going to call it a pick 'em, but I'm also going to say it's a hell of a football game.
Yeah.
Because even I tell you what, Prep has a lot of depth, but I don't know if a team right now in southeastern PA, I don't know if there's a deeper team right now than Garnet Valley.
Yeah, correct. All right. Well, we've got 1 week here that'll start to pick things apart, Joe. Thanks a lot again. I mean, this is, I'll be honest with you. I think this week there's more questions than answers. Next week we'll have more answers than questions.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm looking forward to it. I'll be coming back from. Hopefully, I'm going to have a few brain cells coming back from Vegas. I'm leaving tomorrow.
Oh my!
For the Canelo Caleb Plant fights. I'm pretty excited about that.
I bet.
Last weekend I got a
Well,
chance.
you just
to
let me
New
know
York
when if you need somebody to like stream a boxing match, man, and you know, you and I can get down there and I'll bring somebody and you and I can call it. That should be fun. That would be fun.
Yeah, I like to pull that off, but there's so many oars in the water with fights, and now it's come to a point now, Bruce, where guys that are promoting their fights are streaming their own fights.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, look, if you
So,
run across something, just let me
Yeah.
know, man. I'm all
Yeah.
in. All right.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, definitely, without a doubt.
All right.
So,
Well,
all right.
until next week, my man.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think it's totally up for grabs this year down in District 12 and District 1, and I'm really anxious to see how it all flows.
Yeah, so am I, and you're gonna have me after get done here. I'm gonna be on the phone for a while.
Oh
tracking some
my!
things down. So yeah, I gotta find out where this whole thing goes. I mean, does Father Judge indeed have a buy, which makes some sense because I know I'm just so locked into what tradition's always been with the Catholic League, with the pub, with everything else like that, and I know, for example, basketball, they all play each other regardless of classification.
Yeah, right.
And then,
Correct.
for example, if 6A wins, or if a 6A school wins, or a 5A school wins, whatever the top seed is, or whatever that class, whatever the team with the classification that goes the farthest, they get the state title bid.
Right. Sure.
Apparently with football,
A little bit different.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So I'm going to be educating myself over these next few days. So,
all right, my man. Hey, I'll talk to you on the flip side. Have fun in Las Vegas.
Gotcha. We'll do. Thanks, Bruce.
See you later, my man. See ya. And
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us here on another edition of Pre-Snap Look. Bruce Badgley for my buddy Joe Santoliquito. Take care. Until next time. So long.